All right, so I won't be in class. I suppose you're watching this today. I have a career advancement opportunity. I made up this video just to supplement the presentation I would normally give. I present on sources of Japanese tradition, pages 184 through 194. So this part of the chapter is just talking about Confucianism in the 17th and 18th centuries. It mainly looks at learning of the way, which is seen by historians as a culmination of the Neo-Confucian movement during the Song period. So overall, Yamaga Soko's military codes were utilized to give samurais a purpose during their changed social role, and that was all representative of the Neo-Confucianist movement that sought to simplify the teachings of Confucianism and adapt to local culture and trends. So in the first part, Song thinkers first started the trend of Neo-Confucianism, and it's a combination of old Confucian values and the Song's spiritual climate, which included influences of the once popular Buddhism and Taoism. So they represent a tendency to re-examine the Neo-Confucian synthesis and purge it of labor interpretations. Um, so in case of Soko, it was used, he thought Neo-Confucianism was used to give purpose to the samurai's new social class, and he created military codes, um, which then kind of showed the importance of middle class culture and which that's importance in modernization and the increasing diversity and sophistication of Japanese scholarship. So in Yamaga Soko and the Civilizing of Samurai section, Soko challenged Neo-Confucians while studying military science, and he came up with his own like passages, which were the teaching for warriors and the way of the samurai. So Soko was concerned about the inactivity of samurai during the Tokugawa rule because it was super peaceful, and he thought that people would see them as like freeloaders. So Soko believed that samurai should set a high example of devotion to duty and devotion to their lord instead of personal gain instead, and that they should be tempered, they should have self-discipline, and were ready for anything. He basically laid out the groundwork that was already there for to give like meaning to samurai's life during the time. And he also stressed the peaceful arts. So this was like letters, writing, history, philosophy, that type of thing. And that all represented that shift of the samurai class from being that like lower class to that middle class during the Tokugawa reign. Soko also stressed meditating to contemplate one's nature, and he believed in Japanese tradition, not Chinese tradition like Confucianism did. So he believed in that hierarchy of loyalties where you're ultimately loyal to your emperor and your shoguns, and so on and so forth. So, in preface to Early Learning for Samurai, it was written by two of Yamaga Soku's students, and it was adopted for instruction for samurai and emphasized goodness in action and that Japanese traditions are native forms embodying universal truths. So, this meant that samurai needed to study the way of the samurai themselves. They need to be selfless and they needed to be loyal ultimately. And early to bed, early to rise. They kind of just described how like samurais needed to go about their day. So they must rise at dawn, take good care of themselves, prepare their weapons, receive guests, take care of their parents, be honest, never deceitful, avoid laziness. A lot of those traits that we've already seen, they're just now like fully written down and laid out for everyone. And they also emphasize that in addition to those warrior tasks, something new that they should take up is like the arts, like I said, philosophy and history, which was different than previously explained. Um, in prospects for posterity, precepts for posterity, excuse me. That kind of discussed how a samurai should be around women, which was actually really cool to see that feminist perspective. That men should not override their wives in domestic matters, which and the wife usually takes control, and women should not have the final say in official matters where the men take control. So basically, not stepping on each other's toes and sticking to that like Japanese tradition, because Confucianism really emphasizes that women must be supported, or wives must be subordinate to their husbands. So that's that seeing that influence in that Neo Confucianism. So in the Way of the Samurai, this reflects the Neo Confucian approach to ethics. So Sako kind of stresses the importance of one's place and function in feudal society and its application to Confucian ethics based on personal relationships. So he's saying that one must devote, for samurais, since they have nothing else to do, they have to devote their entire mind and examination to their calling. Because they really don't have much else to do since they kind of became that middle class. And they should reflect on their own station in life and then, of course, do the normal samurai thing where they give loyalty to their master if they have one. So this is also kind of unique in that he explained that samurai must also be a role model for moral obligations, and that not everyone can fully exemplify the way for like common people because they don't really have the time, but samurais do, and that they should punish people who don't fully uphold those principles. So then we kind of see that like power given to samurai where they start to now can manage people and kind of uphold those moral principles. We're seeing them kind of move higher in that status and rank. So my questions are, what are some ways Japanese culture is infused in the military codes written by Soko? So in those two passages we had just read. Looking through a feminist lens, how do you feel about the precepts for posterity section and why? And how is this different than normal Confucian culture? I explained a little bit of it, but and then imagine you were a samurai during this time period. Why might you be inclined to support this document like many other samurai did at the time? And why might you be opposed to the ways of life that Sokka proposes? Thanks, y'all.